Despite facing a budget crunch, city officials are making it clear that rental assistance programs are vital for hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers who are struggling to make ends meet. A new report by the nonprofit housing advocacy organization, the New York Housing Conference, claims that our city could reduce emergency rent assistance costs by intervening earlier in subsidized housing eviction cases. Here to break down what all of that means and the findings in this new report is the executive director of the New York Housing Conference, Rachel Fee. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Always good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Errol.
So what was your goal in looking at this?
So when we first came to look at this issue, it's because affordable housing is experiencing significant financial distress. There was a study out this autumn where half of affordable housing buildings are not collecting enough rent to cover growing expenses. So that's where we started. But then once we dug into the data, we saw that this was a real problem where we both had to help the tenants and the buildings they live in.
I've gone to some of your conferences and they're really very impressive. There are a lot of different public and private and nonprofit sector folks who have acquired a great deal of expertise over the decades, and they put together these really complicated deals. I was shocked to look at this report and basically see that one deal after another appears to be on some level unraveling, that there are in fact more people in affordable housing facing eviction than there are people coming into the system through the housing lottery.
That's right. So we paired up with NYU Furman Center and we analyzed all of the eviction court filings in New York City and we compared it to their subsidized housing database. So we found that there are 43,000 filings out of 120,000 annually in 2024, and that's more than a third of filings. So then we thought, what can we do to, one, prevent these filings from happening? Because no operator of affordable housing is looking to evict the tenant that came in through the housing lottery or a homeless set-aside. We want to find ways to stably house them, keep them in their housing. And then the second piece is, if they will not engage, if that tenant is not willing to engage with the landlord or the city before a pressure point like housing court, how can we get better outcomes in housing court? So we have a proposal around that too.
Yeah, I want to get to that in a minute, but I guess just to not sugarcoat it, are we basically running in place? I mean, if we're losing more people through eviction out of affordable housing than are coming in each year, it means that the numbers of people who are getting the assistance they need is dwindling.
So I think the important thing to note here is that the actual eviction rate in affordable housing is low, right? There are 43,000 filings and only about 5% result in a warrant for eviction. So it's really an issue of non-payment. It's somebody who is experiencing shortage of hours, their seasonal work hasn't come through. We've all experienced cost inflation since 2020, right? And if you're a low-income household, you have very little cushion to absorb any emergency, any economic shock. So the idea is, let's get some help in place for someone as soon as they don't pay their rent on month one, and we can really turn that around. And we think it's better outcomes for all parties.
As it is now, your report found that cases take about 406 days to resolve. That's more than a year.
That's the median.
Yeah, so this is not good, right? Because the arrears just increase. The landlord is then deprived of the revenue they need to even just keep the building going, right?
That's right. So the tenant, often once they're in the situation, they can't dig themselves out of the hole on their own if they're living in affordable housing. And that owner, is deferring maintenance, having trouble paying their bills. Like, we see a lot of them are really falling into distress. So addressing the issue sooner is definitely part of the problem, but we are looking for some policy change from the Mamdani administration. And we have had meetings, and we do feel like we're getting on the same page where they are looking at this to be more proactive and prevent those filings from ever happening.
So now they've been in office for less than 100 days. So this is something, what I'm about to say is not something that they created, but we have a program that you refer to in the report as one-shots, where social services will step in and help a tenant with what is, it's described as a loan, these one-shots, but I don't know what the repayment rates are, and frankly, it doesn't look very good, but they're putting up $500 million a year to help people, sort of get through these non-payment crises. Is there a better way to use that money?
Certainly. If we can address the non-payment issue more quickly, it's going to cost much less per household, possibly half of what the city is paying right now. And so, yeah, that's not how we want to be spending public dollars. We want anyone who can pay their rent to be paying their rent. I also think that if we are having the city intervene, we're looking for them to send an escalation to the tenant saying, hey, you need to engage with this landlord, enter a payment plan, or ask for help if your financial situation has changed, because we do need to get that pressure point earlier to address the issues so that we're not having non-payment issues at 12 months, at 18 months.
Your proposed solution, an affordable housing stability court, and you talk about what I guess is a demonstration program for about $800,000. You say you could put some people in place and help with this early intervention you're describing.
So we're actually looking for a full citywide program. It would be $17 million. It would serve all affordable housing tenants across New York City. And it's based on an eviction diversion model where you would have a 45-day adjournment. So it really takes pressure off housing court, right? And if it is a non-payment issue that can be resolved with assistance quickly, then let's resolve it quickly. But before that, again, we are looking for the city's HRA and HPD, the Human Resources and Housing Agencies, to work with the affordable housing owners to get more outreach to tenants so that they're not going to court at all.
Well, I mean, but look, the average tenant, having signed a lease and understands that the rent is due every month, they know when they're falling behind, right? I mean, what is it that the city would be doing that the tenant doesn't already know?
So these trends are really post-COVID, right? And we know that we've had serious cost inflation post-COVID, and I think just a lot of turmoil in people's lives. So it does seem like we need to revisit what are the social services being offered and when they can be offered. So yes, the lease is an agreement and people need to pay their rent, but when they can't and they've attained their housing through either the housing lottery or a homeless referral, let's try to help them hold on to that housing in any way we can. And
you mentioned in here in the report, 11% of buildings are collecting less than 80% of rent. 80% is a marker suggesting that it's a real dire situation for that landlord?
It's a dire situation for that landlord. And again, we have this kind of perfect storm of lower rent collection that we're seeing in affordable housing and also escalating costs. We did an event today on distress in affordable housing with nonprofits, and then a whole segment just on insurance, right? How do we bring down insurance costs? Another driver here, which is really putting these buildings at risk.
Has the city seen this report? What's your early feedback about what the Mamdani administration might be willing to do?
So they have seen the report. We've talked about it a bunch. I think they're really taking it seriously. They do want to address the issue, and I think they're evaluating it. But I think we're going to have a good response. That's my feeling. I know that at HRA, they've been talking about how they can work with existing programs, and also the HPD commissioner has been really engaged. Okay, we are going to continue this conversation, and we'll wish you the best of luck. Thanks a whole lot. Thank you so much.
Okay.